Subaru Forester Outback Legacy. No longer cars most likely to reach 200,000 miles. Well, got on Google the other morning and another article from Torque News popped up regarding Subarus. They've been on quite a roll recently with Subarus. Article is titled Subaru Forester Outback Legacy. No longer cars most likely to reach 200,000 miles. Article is by Dennis. Not going to try to pronounce the last name because I'm most likely to pronounce it incorrectly, so I will put his name right here. Subaru was recently known as an automaker that made cars going more miles than most others, but that has changed. The Japanese automaker had all-wheel drive cars reaching 200,000 miles plus, and the Subaru Legacy has been known as the longest-lasting sedan in America as recently as 2016. But recently, studies say things are changing. As recent as 2016, Subaru had 3 cars on the IC Cars longest lasting vehicles over 200,000 miles list. The Subaru Legacy was number 6, the Outback number 4, and the Forester number 10. In 2017, the Subaru Legacy ranked 6th on the top 16 longest lasting cars list. Outback was 7th, Forester ranked 8 overall. But something changed in 2018. No Subaru vehicles ranked on the top 10 list. Not surprisingly, the list is dominated by Toyota and Honda, and Ford and Chevy also have 2 cars on the list. This year, IC Cars did the study again, analyzed over 13.8 million cars sold in 2018 to determine which models have the highest percentage of cars that reach 200,000 miles. Subaru scores 0 vehicles on any of the list 2 years in a row. The Subaru brand does not show up until number 8 on cars most likely to reach 200,000 miles by make list. Subaru ranks 0.6% of their vehicles reaching the 200,000 mark, which is below the average of all auto brands at 0.8%. Japanese rival Toyota ranks number 1 at 1.7%, followed by Honda at 1.5%. American automakers GMC, Chevrolet, Ram, and Ford are also all above the average for all models. Yeah, because they make pickup trucks that people drive into the ground. What happened to Subaru? Subaru of America has experienced tremendous growth over the last 10 years, and with success has come problems for the Japanese automaker. Subaru Corporation has struggled to keep their all-wheel drive cars moving off their assembly lines in Japan without problem because of the record number of vehicles being sold in the US. The Japanese automaker had to shut down the Subaru plant in Gunma, Japan, I hope I'm saying that right, because of a power steering component defect in January. In 2017, Subaru was also hit with improper vehicle inspection scandal in Japan, massive global recalls for faulty engine valve springs last year, and 1.3 million vehicles recalled in the US over a faulty brake light switch malfunction in March. Dealers' concern. Last year, Subaru dealers in the US expressed concern about how the Japanese automaker's overall product line is slipping in quality. The board wrote, "Unfortunately, customers continue to have many issues with their Subarus, and the brand continues to slip in IQS and other industry metrics related to product quality. This is unacceptable and contradictory to what Subaru continues to tell the board and the retailers about improvements being made through quality initiatives." With this impressive growth, Subaru Corporation is having growing pains in Japan and US markets. Subaru Corporation has recently announced that they have a new quality policy in order to realize quality reform, which is one of the themes of the medium-term management vision step announced in July of 2018. The first statement on the policy says we will deliver products that can be used with confidence for a long time. Subaru Corporation knows they have issues and they are making changes to fix them. Subaru customers are loyal, but they will lose confidence in Forester, Outback, and Legacy if they don't get it fixed soon. Well, what do we think about this article? This article will be linked in the description of this video where you can check it out for yourself. Like I said, this is number 2 article from Torque News I've gone over. Last week we looked at the article about the technician shortage. What do you guys think about overall quality of Subaru? Personally, I believe that Subaru's quality has been on a slight downhill since about 2003, 2004. The 2005 to 2009 Legacy and Outback, I think, was a step backwards for Subaru in quality. The interior fit and finish materials used were not as good and have not held up as well as the previous generation. The 2010 to 2014 model was, I believe, a step forward in quality as compared to the 2005 to 2009s. The fit and finish was a little bit better on the interior pieces. There were less concerns, less issues with the materials used holding up over long periods of time, wear and tear. As far as the 15 and newer, I cannot really speak on. I don't have any first-hand experience with them other than checking them out at the dealership when I go by to pick up parts. But I believe that a lot of this quality concern has come up over the CVT transmissions. Recall for brake light switch, the deal they had with the recall on the steering, the Takata airbag recalls, which wasn't Subaru's problem. Newer Outback and Legacy, I know there's been a ton of issue with the Harman and Kardon head units in them. They've had a lot of issue with black screen. And if you get on any of the, I'm going all over the place here, I'll try to keep on focus. But one thing I noticed on Facebook pages, which I got on quite a few, and I can't remember the name of the page. I think it was Subaru Outback Owners Club or something generic. And the people on there just, I left the group because I wanted to bang my head against the wall. It was so frustrating. The problem that Subaru is experiencing now is they have grown so much that they have gotten out of their core customer bases. Subaru always was the niche little odd Japanese car. The Bug-Eye WRX, SVX, the Brat, the Baja. Subaru's known for making weird stuff. And their customers are a little different than the normal Honda, Toyota, Nissan buyer, Chevy, Ford, Dodge. So when they started to normalize, so to say, with their designs on the Legacy Outback Forester and the entire product line in the last 10 years or so, it's brought in more customers that were traditionally Honda, Toyota buyers, Nissan buyers, Chevy, Ford buyers. They've stolen some of the market share, and these individuals are not used to Subaru vehicles. They don't quite understand that Subarus are completely different than anything else on the road, anything else that they have owned because of the boxer engine, the symmetrical all-wheel drive, just lots of different systems that are nothing compared to to a inline 6, inline 4, a V6, a V8 powered front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive vehicle. There's just no comparison in the maintenance required, the labor cost on things, how to maintain the car, how to drive the car, you know, just so on and so forth. So all these people just, it gets under my skin, and that's why I left the group. The fact they were just degrading Subaru so badly because my radio doesn't come on. I've got a black screen. I can't see what channel my radio's on. Subaru's horrible. I'll never buy another one. I'm selling this Outback. This is my first Subaru experience. I'm going back to a Toyota RAV4, 4Runner, a Honda Pilot, Honda CRV, whatever. Subaru is not responsible for the radio issue. That is their supplier, Harman and Kardon's issue. Subaru used it in their vehicle, yes, so to a degree it's their fault for putting it in their car instead of a Panasonic unit or any other head unit they could have chose, but they went with the Harman and Kardon system. Harman and Kardon is struggling, to say the least, to get all the new replacement radios to the dealers. There's a humongous backlog, 5-6 months last I checked, on these radios, so they can't get them in to get the new radios. And people just like to nitpick the smallest things. I just think it's a little crazy. But I can't understand you're buying a almost $40,000 Outback now, depending on if you get a top of tier 3.6R or a Touring. That, yeah, I want everything in my new car to work, but you know, things are going to happen. Things I can see people getting angry about Subaru for, and that are directly quality engineering Subaru issues. Oil consumption on the F-Series engines, where Subaru kind of band-aided it and didn't want to take responsibility at first. Kind of like what they did with the head gasket issues when they started in the late 90s, where they brought people in and threw the coolant conditioner in, which was a Holtz brand Radweld stop leak with a Subaru sticker over the bottle, and use that to try to band-aid people's head gaskets till they could get them in to replace them under warranty. You know, that could bankrupt a company, especially as small as Subaru was back in the 90s, recalling every car and replacing all the head gaskets. Subaru has kind of gotten themselves in a pickle with the CVTs in the same regard that, you know, replacing everybody's CVT at $7,000–8,000 a transmission and paying the guys in the service department to replace it, that's a hefty bill. So, you know, I kind of understand from one point that, you know, Subaru's trying their best and they don't want to go bankrupt, but also the consumer's paying their hard-earned money for a vehicle that should not be as troublesome as that, with major issues in the engine, transmission, drivetrain. So, do I agree with the article? Yeah, I honestly do. Subaru's quality is not what it was in the late 90s, 2000s. And I've seen that on not just Subaru vehicles, but many Japanese manufacturers. The whole deal with Subaru was they were trying to break into the U.S. market. They've been trying to break into the U.S. market for a long time. If I recall correctly, Subaru came to U.S. market in 1969. Don't hold me to that, but I think 69, 70 is where they brought the 360 sedans and the 360 vans and all that stuff in the market. I'm just going out of memory here. But they were always a very small automaker. They couldn't get a very good foothold in the market, whereas Toyota and Honda took off relatively quick in comparison to Subaru. The Japanese automakers had to win over the American public, and they did so with stringent quality. That's how they were getting their foothold in the marketplace. They made an extremely well-built vehicle, and that and its longevity is what swayed market from Toyota to Toyota and Honda and the other Japanese automakers, from Chevy, Dodge, Ford, etc. Well, now that these big manufacturers have gotten their big chunk of the market share, Toyota, Honda, I point to them because when I was a Snap-on tool dealer, I had Honda and Toyota dealerships on my route, so I got to see firsthand, you know, what was going on, what the recalls were, what the issues were on new vehicles, and this and that. Well, Toyota was having to, they had piston ring issues on the four-cylinder engine in the Toyota Camry. I can't remember what other four-cylinder engine that Toyota had that was affected, but they were doing recalls and re-ringing engines all the way up to like 120,000 miles on every single four-cylinder model in the Camry, and I believe the Corolla and RAV4 perhaps. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that's a pretty big issue there, where you're having to re-ring your engine. Dashboards were being obliterated. Toyota was very lenient on that. They were warrantying dashboards up to like 10, 15-year-old vehicles. Good on them, but still, that's a little bit of a reach. Honda, the Honda dealership I had, there was an issue, 16, 17 models, I can't remember what year it was now, Civics, where they were bringing them brand new off of the car hauler, bringing them in the shop, dropping the engine out, and disassembling the engine to make sure that the wrist pin clips were in, because there was a certain production number of Civics where the wrist pin retaining clips were missing from the engine. That's a serious issue. All the automakers have problems. Subaru is not the only one. Subaru's been kind of getting targeted recently because it's been the fastest growing newcomer to take a big chunk of market share. So it's been under the magnifying glass more so than everybody else. But still, yes, I do believe that their quality is not quite as good as it was in the 90s and 2000s. Those cars are just better built. They last longer. They have less issues. But that said, again, there's a lot of new technology being introduced right now, and it's a learning experience. This is the CVT and the issues that Subaru is also Nissan CVT. People talk about Subaru CVTs. Nissan CVTs are garbage. They've been garbage since they came out. I had a Nissan dealership, and they were putting brand new transmissions in Altimas and Maximas with 200,000-300,000 miles on them. They were failing during the test drive. Brand new cars. I haven't heard that with Subarus yet, but CVTs and Nissans are just hot garbage, and they've been making them for much longer. Well, I say that, but actually Subaru, if I remember right, I think the old Justy in the 80s, late 80s, 90s had a CVT transmission. I'll have to do some digging and put some stuff on the screen here. But Subaru had a CVT about 10, 20 years ago, if I recall. Just wasn't as big as it was now. Back to the point. Right, so after the automakers got their foothold, they slacked on their quality and focused on profits over their engineering and making a quality product. Has Subaru done that? Maybe. I can't speculate on that. All I can say is they're not as great as they were. But like I said, new technologies, untested things. It's kind of like in the 80s when fuel injection came in, and the fuel injection systems were horrible. People were ripping fuel injection systems off, putting carburetors back on their cars because they didn't want to deal with the junk. They were aggravated with it. I know plenty of people now that probably would want to rip their CVT out and put a 4EAT, 5EAT, or a 5-speed manual transmission in it. I'm going to miss the manual transmission. Subaru has completely gone away from that, except in the STI model, as far as I know, and the BRZ. Everything else is now CVT only, which I'm not a fan of. Although you can get a 6-speed manual in the Crosstrack, but I don't know if that's still available. Like I said, they're phasing it out. Another thing I hate they did was break the 3.6R trim model. It's an EZ36D engine. It's not an EZ36R engine. But yeah, I hate that they didn't put the money in the development of keeping that platform around. Instead, they go to a 2.4 liter turbo engine. But anyway, that's getting off point. Point was Subaru's quality, and I do agree that their quality has slipped. It's not quite what it was. What do you think? Leave your comments, questions below, and tell me what experience you've had with more modern Subarus compared to older Subarus and what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.